Are you feeling kind of lost? What if the answer is between your legs? Stay tuned because this is a unique episode. I am Candia Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and moving in a way that it's free from inhibition and full of self expression. And if you're new to these views, please go to my website and get yourself signed up so you get these episodes delivered on your inbox weekly. It's my name, candiaraquel.com, www.candiaraquel.com. And today we have a very special guest. This is Nadia Lune. She's from Canada, and like from the first moment I saw her content in TikTok, I was like, "Ah, she needs to come to the podcast." Like literally from the first 3 seconds of the first TikTok video, I was like, "Oh my God, this woman is amazing. She's magical." And we have her here. Welcome. I am so excited to have you here, Nadia Lune.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. Yeah, so I'm Nadia Lune. I'm slutty, I'm queer, I'm gender expansive. My pronouns are they, she, and I'm a sacred ritualist, which combines Eastern and Western science to create somatic practices that bring people home to their body to reclaim our power. And my wish is that every woman and vulva being finds that in this journey because your deep ancient wisdom lives in your body under your trauma. So, liberating the trauma and finding what's deeper than that, your magic, your empowerment, your wisdom, your vitality, your life force energy. And I'm a sacred sex witch. I'm also a sexual liberation guide. And I desire that every woman and vulva being comes home to their body to reclaim their power through the tool of pleasure. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited, and I want to ask you about everything you've just said. But let's start with the problem. Why do you think we, as women and vulva beings, lost our power? Why was
Yeah, yeah, I really bring it back to 2000 years ago when Catholicism started in Europe. And what happened was is they were the medicine women of the communities who were teaching that our bodies are sacred. The sacred lives inside of us and it flows through each and every one of us as one. It connected to nature and the universe, and it all flows as one. And what happened with Catholicism, where they were like, no, we want the men in charge now. And they started to attack these women who were teaching these methods and communities. And they were the leaders of the communities passing knowledge on in their ancestry. And they burned them at the stake, which is the witches, right? And witch just means intuitively wise. And you can be any type of witch. You can be a nature witch and be intuitively connected to nature or whatever it is. I'm a sex witch, so I'm intuitively connected to the body and sexual energy. And Catholicism really took over and said, no, the sacred is not within you. Actually, your body is the original sin. And in order to connect with the sacred, you have to come to the church, listen to the men on the podiums, and do what they say. And then, they created a hierarchy of gender. And beyond that, then they had colonialism, which created hierarchy of race. And sadly, Catholicism created patriarchy and it was very successful. It's all over the world. It lives in our systems everywhere. And It's about dismantling that. But we live in that system. So women have really lost their power through that because in order to survive, they had to give up their power. But we're in a renaissance period of reclaiming that. I truly believe that.
Yes, we are in a renaissance power moment of reclaiming our power, even though sometimes it looks like the pitchiest, darkest night of the
Mm-hmm.
global politics soul. But
Yeah.
I agree, I testify, I subscribe. The Renaissance have already started. And the dawn, like the the dawn has begun,
Mm.
and rise and sun is rising. But in the meantime, I feel that we are in a very tumultuous and relevant historical moment of change, of liminal space where we are neither where we were and we are neither where we are heading already. We
Mm.
are like in a crepuscular liminal rite of passage kind of space. Like we see how fortunate we are as women and vulva owner beings. And we also know the stories of our grandmothers that were groundbreaking. But when my mom was born here in Mexico, women didn't have the right to vote
Mm.
when she was born. And
Mm-hmm.
my grandmas, like they were real matriarchs in the sense that raised, they earned their own money and raised the family, even though they were married. Like they took on the they took over, like they saw a chance and it was like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
letting go and I am making money and I am building this. And it was like exploding patriarchy from within because they took over of the masculine traditional roles of being the providers in such a macho culture as in Mexico. And also, they were very feminine. And actually, they were like terrible and tyrannical, fortunately, because it was needed. But it's very recent that we are reclaiming our power in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that one of the greatest challenges is how to stay connected with our womanly self, bodily, cyclically, emotionally, vulnerably, and connected with the nuances of our pleasure and sensitivity, while at the same time playing the game and being here and making money and running in the world as men used to do, and having a passport and a driver's license, and like, okay, we subscribe to the system. And also it's challenging not to hate men as a gender, like,
Mm-hmm.
and often I like realize that patriarchy is castrating to men. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have these impositions and expectations of having porn-sized dicks, for example, and endurance and stamina of a 25-year-old, and having money. Otherwise, they feel like literally worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there are women that are very patriarchal, like self-punishing, like they voted for for their worst enemy. for
Yeah.
example, in the States. And like, how can that be? So there's a thing about patriarchy that predates and go beyond gender. So my question is, how to reconcile the polarities of the feminine being woman, the masculine and men, and also the masculine energy that we have in us, and appreciating that a man can have the the sensitivity and the delicacy to hold space, and at the same time relating to our sister women friends and going beyond polarity and just being very unisex, or sometimes like taking the role of the leader, an active initiator of whatever thing or activity, and then switching out to become receptive. And how can we like restore this kind of, I don't know if it's, yeah, like the fluidity and the and the natural diversity within us, and not only,
Hmm.
and it's not exclusive to humans. Like, I see it in my dogs. I have a male and a female dog, and like they switch and they agree very well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this question. And I think it's both vast and simple at both the same times. And I think how I will approach this question is first of all, the real foundation of the work that I teach is about coming home to your body and learning to reconnect to that because we live in such a society where the mind and body has become very separate. The body, like you were naming, all these pieces of living in a female body that have now been villainized so much, like menstruation, the cycles of our bodies, our sleep, even the size of our bodies, how we eat. All this is so villainized now. But what happens when we start to deconstruct that patriarchy that's been put on us and we come home to our own authenticity? A big thing in my work is I don't want someone to do it my way. No one has to be like me or do it like me or want the same things I want. What I desire is that you are handed back your own power. You have the space, permission, and safety to return home to yourself and whatever that is. I think that's a very scary journey typically for people because we're trying to fit in. All humans desire love, safety, and belonging. And we're trying to fit in to have belonging and feel safe in this society. But then, what that gets to, if you ask me, my work is very about intersectional activism as well. I truly believe that you can only come so far in your personal journey and your personal healing until you are also seeing and uplifting the marginalized collective. And I really feel once we start to look at not just patriarchy, but racism, transphobia, these kinds of things that really create community and create this spaciousness for all humans, that's when the fluidity starts to really flow. And even with men, I find I kind of laugh that, I mean, I'm very fluid in my sexuality, but I am attracted physically to cis men and sexually so and romantically, and I really feel that it is like a a gift from, the divine, that this is like a divine path to overcome because I feel like it would be a lot easier just to like only be queer. But my attraction to men makes me love them in this way where it makes me want to connect with them as opposed to against them. And Because I hold a strong foundation of myself, I do find that therefore when I have relationships with men, they're different than the typical ones because I do speak up for myself. I know my yes and no. I know that if you're saying something misogynistic, I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to put my foot down because I'm in my power and, I love my body and my body isn't the thin model type. It used to be. I used to be a sex worker and I was obsessed with being conventionally beautiful. But I've long since given that up now and I live in my own authentic body and expression. And it's not super conventional. And I have great sex and great relationships with men being part of that. And it's because I hold my authenticity. I truly believe that. Like people go on dates and they're like, men have nothing to talk about. Well, that never happens to me because I'm on a date holding conversation. I'm the one inviting vulnerability because I bring my own vulnerability. And this is a tool I think it kind of feels like it's a big weight that women have to hold that, but I truly believe that we are the vulnerable ones. We are the magic makers. We have the life force energy, and they will follow and come along. They just need to be invited in a different way, I think. That's kind of how I see it.
I love
Yeah.
it. They need to be invited in a way that also celebrates their brute force, for example. Like, I am very handy and I have a lot of vanity from being independent. And I didn't embrace mm, my womanly feminine identity until like, I don't know, recently, maybe 10, 15 years ago, because I am an Aquarius and I am very crazy and unisex. And I never thought about it. And I am a biologist, like, I am a
Mm.
human being, like, and I am very similar to my dogs. Like, we have the same, like, kidneys, vertebra, etc. And even I rescued a tarantula that was in the kitchen yesterday. And she was super beautiful, hairy. And I was like, wow, like, in a way I can understand her because she has legs and she must be very freaked out in the middle of my kitchen. Like, we were both scared. Then I released her into the mountain. And the thing is that there's obviously the bio our biological constitution. Like, we have a
Yeah.
DNA, we have hormones, and we have like our genitals, and our brain has a certain organization that is
Yeah.
oh, magical black cat,
My little kitty, Ramallah.
beautiful kitty. Yeah, and even male and female cats are very different. I can see my dogs, and then I am like, maybe I am as crazy as my female dog when she's on heat. And the thing is that, yeah, I started all this rambling with me being very proud to kill the mouse and change the light bulb and do all of those things on my own. But now that I am more mature, I do ask for the neighbor to open the jar for me. Why
Yeah.
am I gonna bother? And it's fantastic that they feel like, I don't know, like they flop up and they become like, oh yeah, I am strong. And then it's like, oh my God, this is so basic and at the same time so meaningful. And there's something to it, recognizing our natural abilities without, I mean, gender abilities, without letting them being a frame or a restraint to sustain a hierarchical and an oppressive dynamic. Like, come
Absolutely.
on, that's bullshit. I can fucking open the jar on my own
Yeah.
and he can fucking wash his trousers himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he can self-regulate and understand his emotions on his own and get soothed. And I cannot lift very heavy things, but I can use tools to lift them. So
Yeah.
so we have both things, and I like what you say to say like and know that we are the magic makers, we are the vulnerable ones, simply because we have way less muscle mass than men. Like physically,
Mm-hmm.
men are fucking stronger, and
Yeah.
the misuse of their physical force
Mm-hmm.
is has been the justification for a lot of oppression and nonsense.
Totally.
So it's kind of relieving to be able to put things in their place and understand that if sometimes I feel insecure about my body, I feel disconnected from pleasure, I feel unwanted, and I feel like I don't fit in, maybe it doesn't have to do with me, it doesn't have to do with you. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
has to do with you being born within this cultural soup that has
Yeah.
been boiling for 2000 years.
Yeah.
Finally, after that long simmering, we women are finally creating another fucking concoction out of it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
into something that is good. So this to finally come to the core question that
Yeah.
we here and invited you to join the conversation is like, yeah, I can relate to feeling lost, to feeling disconnected, to not finding my place anywhere. And I really believe that a lot of women here and also men. And then you said that the answer is between your legs. And I don't want to spoil the why is that. So could you tell us like how did you arrive to such a brilliant and at the same time obvious realization, but like never in my life have I had those words to speak them, and it feels so liberating. So how did you come to the knowing that the answer is between your legs? And of course, would you tell us what is that answer?
Yes, for sure. So how I came on this journey and how I'm a sex witch now, how it all became. My background was in dance and movement therapy. I was a sex worker, and then I was also a Pilates instructor with a specialization in pelvic floor. And I saw a lot of that mechanical movement in people and how they actually have too much tightness and dysfunctionality in their pelvic floor. And it literally affects everything. It affects how you walk, how your spine holds itself up. It's very attached to your jaw and like grinding your teeth, anxiety, all these kinds of things. And then I was looking for my own healing. I went on my own healing journey. I've had Lyme disease and I was in hell. I had BPD, I was an alcoholic, I was just like in escapism and in my own internal hell. And I went on a Jade Egg retreat, which I didn't even know what it was. It's a jade stone that looks like an egg, and you put it up your pussy. And I was like, I didn't know what it was. I was like, a stone up your pussy, like, count me in. So I signed up, went to the Costa Rican jungle, and it was a very profound moment because before we put it inside of us, we had to ask our own bodies for consent and our own pussy for consent. And this moment, I didn't really know what that meant, but mine spoke to me for the first time and said no. And I was like, I paid a lot of money to be here. I'm doing this anyways. So I shoved it up there, and then I had a whole trauma response. I was crying, shaking, totally breaking down. And it hit me like a brick wall. It was like, okay, there's consent with other humans, but what is consent with my own body, right? Can my own body even speak to me? Am I even listening to my own body, right? And even many people listening, they might be like, that's a completely foreign concept to me, the idea that your pussy's talking to you or even your body is talking to you. But, think about it like your heart speaks to you, right? Your brain, your gut, those things are a little bit more tangible to understand because they're more natural in our society. But why wouldn't your pussy speak to you, right? And when you think about it too, when you start to journey to your pussy, first thing people feel typically is numbness, shame, anxiety, confusion, disgust, right? All these things that we're just avoiding it. And when you start to actually go on this journey, you then start to realize, wow, I understand why patriarchy villainized what's between my legs because there is so much power there. Our womb lives there. It can create human life. And that creation energy doesn't have to be towards babies if you don't want it to be. It can be towards anything. And typically we're being exploited of it all the time. It's our vitality is constantly being taken from us, and that's really the system of patriarchy, is this survival mode of giving our vitality away so we can survive. But what happens when it returns back to us is, first, it's very scary because a lot of trauma, betrayal can be there, grief. I work like a lot of women who do this work in their 60s, 70s are in so much grief that they could have spent the last 40 years actually loving their body, but they waited so long to do this journey. So it's never too late to reclaim it, and it's never too early either, right? Like we learn these stories about our body and the shame around our body and anxiety from the beginning. We're not born with it, but we don't start out like feeling great about our body. I mean, my mom would gift me scales under the Christmas tree. Like it was crazy. So just all this anxiety and manipulation around our body in order to survive. But what happens when we can change that from this survival mode into actually thriving, vitality, life force? And this is actually where science comes really into it, because the way to do that is to reattune your nervous system to pleasure. And our nervous system knows pain and pleasure as its receptors. But if you're stuck in a cycle of pain all the time, as much as you regulate, your nervous system knows pain, so it will always run to and from pain. But if you actually learn to reattune to pleasure and not just the quick dopamine hit to get out of pain momentarily, but actually shift from rest and relaxation into pleasure, your nervous system functions differently. It can actually restore itself. It teaches the mitochondria that they can actually have the energy to work as opposed to constantly just being on overdrive with pain. And it teaches your nervous system that you can actually feel vitality, you can actually feel replenished. And this is neurobiology, it's biology, like Western science has proved this, but this is ancient somatic practices that are thousands of years old, learning to process our emotions through our body. And your pussy is what holds probably the most trauma and anxiety, but it also holds the most power, ancient wisdom from your ancestors. I mean, just learning about cervical orgasms absolutely changed my whole life. They're so witchy, like ancestral speaking, like just, yeah, it's profound when you actually crack open from an orgasm is just like touching my clit from a man pounding me hard and fast, into now I'm going to discover my body and actually the full encompassing pleasure that could be there and all that potential. And it's scary for people to start the journey because, like I said, even with me, I started with a total trauma breakdown. But then when my body started kept calling me back, I was like, okay, this is real. And it was the thing that made the most difference in my life versus all the other therapies I tried. So, yeah.
Yeah. You listen to your body calling you back.
Mm,
And at first, you didn't listen. Your body
mm,
said no, and you went in all the way, regardless. Because
mm.
that's what we do in this culture. We buckle up, we race to the occasion,
Yeah.
we swallow, and take it. And when we do that, we give away our sovereignty, our
Yeah.
ultimate sovereignty that is, like you wisely mentioned, it's self-consent.
Yes.
And and the self is in a way beholded by the utmost sacred word that is no.
Mm,
The word that you say, no, I am not gonna do that because I don't want to. And what's really challenging for me and maybe for other people is to understand that this is a bodily answer, not a rational answer. Because of
mhm.
course, come on, you are already in the jungle of Costa Rica after paying a long flight from Canada with the polar bears to the toucans and the monkeys in Costa Rica, and you have to free your schedule, and it's time that you're not gonna earn money and time that you are gonna spend money. And I know it because I'm also a Pilates teacher, and it's like you're there. You bought the goddamn expensive Jade Egg because it's not a plastic thingy.
Yeah.
There, and you are not a coward. So how wouldn't you stick, like, I mean, we stick tampons, men,
Yeah.
toys, like
Yeah.
a Jade Egg, and it's like, I am in a safe space. I am on a journey. I'm not gonna fucking chicken out. And it's like, no, it's not about chickening out. This is not a trial. This is not a matter of ultimate survival. You're not on the trenches. Yes, you are a warrior, and you can take it.
Mm,
You won't give up, and you won't relinquish until succeeding whatever, because
yeah.
you're a strong woman. But it's like, yes, but hey, remember that you created this space. Like, you created this space in your agenda. You paid for this retreat. You you're beholding yourself to allow your tenderness voice whatever it may need.
Yeah.
in that moment was to not show up at Jade.
Yeah.
I feel it like I even want to cry because
Mm.
I can relate. Like there are moments and there are circumstances, and was it another circumstance? Like I don't know, but I imagine that there are layers of intimacy and layers of opening and layers of intercourse and intertwining and becoming one
Mm-hmm.
with other. And I suppose that being a sex worker, which I think it's the most ancient work,
Yeah.
like like work, like there are bricklayers before there were bricks and
Yeah.
before there were houses and
Before there was the wheel, the
uh-huh,
fire,
yeah,
everything.
yeah. Before that, there was the first job was like selling your body for steak or whatever. No
Or
big
even it actually really started with worship. It was about worshiping the sacred prostitute. Yeah.
worshipping the sacred prostitute. And
It was a job that was about worshiping.
I believe, well, I just imagine that it's like the most refined psychotherapeutic approach, and it must be a service, but at the same time, it's like you are doing your thing, you are working, and you are in the role of, meaning like, well, I am I am this version of Candia when I am in the podcast because I am threading this discourse with you for the audience. And when
Mm.
I am with my dogs, I am another version of Candia. And when I am teaching and when I am working, in either of your roles and functions, we hold ourselves also in a kind of wearing a suit of armor,
Yeah.
and it's not the same. It's not as intimate as making love with a client, I suppose, than putting a jade egg in your pussy. And it's I feel it's very important to be aware with ourselves, like to really attune to what our body is telling us in regards to yes and no. I want this, I don't want that. That is not rational.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with relating with the self
Mm-hmm.
and relating with the other. And yeah, all of this to say that there are layers of intimacy, and
Totally.
you can feel a lot of pleasure in a certain circumstance, and there are other circumstances that it's better that you don't feel much pleasure because it requires certain sensitivity, and when you're open to that certain sensitivity you're also vulnerable to pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No? For example, if you're a surgeon dealing with an emergency, yes, you have empathy, but you cannot be too sensitive to the patient that is bleeding. You need to act.
Yeah.
And I feel it's so brilliant to know that there are instances to embody an aspect of yourself in alignment with yourself and the circumstance and be congruent with that. And self consent is almost revolutionary because I feel there's been a lot of progress made with consent in regards to others. Like this is these are my boundaries, this is what I allow, and this is what I don't want and I don't allow. But
Yeah.
for me, even with food, there are many times that I stuff
Yeah.
myself with food, even though I am full and my body says like, Candia, I cannot take it. And I am like, "Rah, rah," or overworking or
Yeah. Not
starving
even,
myself.
sometimes not even peeing. People will hold their pee like a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, again, all of that to say that I relate with your body saying no and you stuffing a jade egg in your pussy regardless. Because I think I have done that in different ways every
Totally.
day of my life, even today,
Yeah.
this morning. And it's painful to step over my own boundaries.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
what to
we
do?
never learned it. We never learned
Okay,
how to have that with our
okay,
body.
we never learned it. If any, we learned the contrary. Like
Yes.
like
That
you
our
don't have
body's
a
not
voice,
ours.
and your body doesn't have a voice, and you don't have human rights, and you are a woman, and therefore you can be sold as cattle, as in many countries still.
Yeah. And your pleasure doesn't matter. Medical misogyny, you're not even studied, right? You're just compared to against a man. Um, and they just, whittle it down to it being this way. And I just firmly don't believe that. And I'm in this industry, and this is what I teach, to come home to your body and know it as yours and reclaim it. Because also the thing is to that hard and fast, like you, especially you were talking about at the beginning after I shared about the jade egg, this like let's get it over with, let's just do it. This is your trauma body functioning. This is your trauma body talking, like let's get it over with, hard and fast, let's just do it anyway. Also in healing, right? Like I want to be healed tomorrow. I want the magic pill. I want it to be over with. This is the trauma body talking. And when we actually slow down, first of all, slowing down is very information rich. It's going to teach us so much. Like this jade egg moment I'm talking about, it's a moment I actually slowed down and I still went against myself, but it told me so much about my body and my experience with my body. And this slowing down is very hard to actually step into because this is what it takes to heal. And this is what pleasure is. This is what being sensual is. It's about literally walking down the street and smelling the flower. It's about literally doing that. It's about eating your dessert slowly, not just huffing it down because you wanted some sugar. It's literally about living in your human body and experiencing your life with it in a pleasurable way. And in order to do that, you have to slow down. I mean, even sex, right? Sex is this hard, fast, let's get it over with in 5 minutes, roll over, go to sleep. It starts when the man gets hard, finishes when he finishes, and men aren't lasting very long. So it's never this like, what is it to actually open a body? What is it to actually breathe and attune breath? What is it to be able to attune to your yes and no? How do you even know how to say yes and no if everything's happening so quickly and fast and it's just this routine that you fumble in each time? Right? So it's that taking the steps back to really come home and go slow and then, but it's intimidating, right? Like I said, there could be grief there, there could be rage there, there could be all kinds of moments where you betrayed yourself and holding space for those. It's scary. But that's also why it's profound to do it in community with a teacher, with someone else who's on the journey with you, right? You don't have to do it alone. Patriarchy teaches you that you're independently broken, You're independently unfixable and unlovable. You're the ugliest person ever. You're not going to be chosen. And you have to do it all yourself alone. And no one else can relate to your problems. But that's so not true. Like I have a sex magic school, and everyone can relate to each other's experiences, whether it's a portion of it or the whole thing. There's no unique experiences in sexuality that I've found, really. We all are struggling with that underlying piece of we don't feel safe to be in our body. We don't feel safe to slow down. We don't feel safe to actually feel pleasure and explore that. It happens in different ways, like vaginismus, pelvic pain, completely avoiding it altogether. It shows up in different ways in our life, but it's a universal experience that we were taught to hate our bodies and not be in them. Yeah,
Yes, we have to self-educate ourselves beyond the education that we receive, implicit education or tacit education. For example, me as a Mexican, like I was lucky to have very hippie academical parents and
Mm,
groundbreaking terrorific grandmas, but
yeah.
still, like there are a bunch of churches, and Mexico is super Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
and pleasure is not a matter of yeah, like you slipped a little bit in self-indulgence. Not like it's written that pleasure will send you to hell. Not even
Yeah.
to the limbo, like it's straight to hell. And it's like if you suffer, if you're a martyr, and if you like crucify yourself and then try to blackmail everyone because you give your life to them, then
Yeah.
like you're a good Christian, a good Catholic. And even though like I don't subscribe, my unconscious absorbed that like
Exactly.
as part of my,
Even if your mind isn't thinking it,
yeah,
your body may feel something different
yeah,
because of the survival mode it has to be in. It picks up on it.
yeah. And it's part of the like somehow behaving not like a total outsider in a certain culture or society.
Exactly. Belonging
Belonging and safety
and safety,
and,
feeling safe in that
and
too.
life. But then it's like, okay, if you go to the plaza on a Sunday, well, behave. But that doesn't mean that you have to abide with that code of conduct when you are in the privacy of your bedroom with your beloved. And there's that's the place to be an adult and like develop that maturity and reframing and deconstructing, and finally choosing, and not just rationally from your top floor, but from really down below, from your gut and your flesh and your body, and reclaiming your fleshly sense of self, and your the ultimate sovereignty that is like owning your body and taking the space to heal, that is simultaneously, as I am understanding, also the slowing down and the space to delight in pleasure. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
pleasure as a journey of listening and acting in consequence, like having an open body, listening in attunement to your flesh,
Mm-hmm.
knowing your yes, knowing your no, and if you're in union with your beloved, listening to their own responses
Yeah, attuning to each other too.
to each other. And and then being the the epicenter of your reality instead of being a ripple of a twisted decision that happened 2000 years ago. So
Yeah. And I think you made a really good point here too, is about partners. A lot of people only do this work with a partner because we've been taught that you have to have a partner in order to have sex or connect with your body in that way. And actually, I find that very damaging because if your pleasure and that foundation of that is based on a partner, then it's in the hands of that partner. It's not actually yours. And it's beautiful to do it with a partner, and I absolutely think people should, but what is your foundation based off of? Is it based off of someone else and someone else being involved in it? Or do you have your own foundation with yourself? And this is really key as well in my teachings because you can't fully come home to yourself and fully explore yourself if it's always based on you interacting with a partner. Yeah.
this is huge because part of that misogynistic oppression is the belief
Yeah.
that your pleasure in your body is provided by a man or
Absolutely.
or by your partner
And
or
they hold this like
external
key
sources.
to it.
Uh-huh.
Like, if you don't hold your own key, then you're not in your full power.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is huge. And I
Mhm.
understand it rationally, but like I have my tails, my toenails like against the sole of my shoe. Like, oh my God, this is a huge one. Like we were talking about sovereignty. Well, there you go, Candia.
Yeah,
Oh my God, because now I realize that one can be erotically codependent.
absolutely.
Because even like I I am well taken care of by my own self, but mostly, if not always, my pleasure, even on a fantasy level, is relational and my eroticism. And there's like, yeah, or a circumstance or something. And I realize that fantasy, I mean, it's great. It's a fundamental part of our freedom to be able to think for ourselves and imagine and and fantasize. But sometimes that bypasses the immediacy of the sensitivity of the flesh.
Yes.
It has no backstory and it has no before and after because sensing,
It's escapism too. It's not coming inward, it's that escapism.
yes, yes,
And you can be with a partner and be in escapism, or you can be with a partner and be embodied, going inward, feeling inward. Like most people are having sex not for themselves, they're
yes.
having it just to have it with the partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I feel that oof, I'm finally understanding what the great psychoanalyst Lacan said, that it's brutal. He said, there is no sexual relation. It doesn't exist. And it was like, what the fuck? Why? And,
Mm,
and the thing is that the orgasm is your orgasm. The
yes.
orgasm of your partner is their orgasm. And
Yes.
you participate in his pleasure, but that's his pleasure.
Yes.
Your pleasure is your pleasure. And and that and that in a way explains so clearly why sex is not enough to create a bond.
Yeah.
There's a quote
Totally.
from Freud that he was very macho and crappy in a lot of senses, but he was brilliant in that he discovered the unconscious and a lot of things. And he said that to create a bond, a coupled bond, sex was not enough. It was very
Yeah.
important. The component of tenderness was fundamental. The
Yeah.
tenderness, which implies seeing and listening the other and the voice of the flesh of the other, their
Yeah.
self-consent talking and their consent towards you. So
Absolutely.
what glues a bond, a relation, is the affection, is the love, is the caring for the other. It's not just the body and the flesh itself. And now I'm finally understanding physically, like, yeah, first it's important to what what you were saying since the start of this conversation, reclaiming your sovereignty, your physically, your fleshly sovereignty, and coming home to your body and being self eroticized.
Yeah.
And that feels so challenging.
And that's even when a lot of people are in partnerships and they are so in love with their partner's their white knight, makes them feel so safe, all these things, but they're not actually experiencing pleasure with them. They can't orgasm or they can't really surrender. And it's because they don't have their own foundation
Yes.
of connection to their own body. And therefore, there'll always be this like glass wall between you and your partner because you can't let them in because you can't believe it about yourself that
Yes.
you're lovable and that you can go into this deeper pleasure. So that's why it's so key to find this with yourself. If even if you want a partner and you want to have the best sex with a partner, be embodied yourself.
Yeah, so it's a real sharing. Like, okay, we are together. I am in my pleasure, you are in your pleasure, and we are like being part of each other's like motivation for delight, and
Yeah.
not only getting the pleasure of being an inspiration or muse or an element of arousal or the object of desire of the other, because of course it feels
Yeah.
great. It gives me a lot of pleasure to see how my beloved goes crazy when he sees me naked.
Yeah.
It's like pleasurable, but it's not what we are talking about.
Yes.
We talk about listening the answer that is within and between your legs, that is your disposition towards pleasure or your reluctance without any reason. And I want to ask you if you could share with us a little practice of or something in order to listen the answer within our legs, to
Yeah.
be able to also take no for an answer,
Mm.
and also how to take yes for an answer, how to realize like, oh my god, I am really horny and yearning and longing for, and I am super ready for myself. Like,
Yeah.
how how to give it to you, and
Yeah.
how to welcome, like how to respect your no, and how to welcome and take it in all the pleasure, regardless of the world being on fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I think two things particularly come to mind with that. One is one of the most basic exercises that I get everyone to start with is just learning to talk to your pussy and not in a sexual way, like in a what do you want to eat today? Or do you want dessert? Or, make it luxurious, right? Or which panties do you want to wear today? which lipstick should I wear? You know, very basic, silly things that feel not hypersexual and that feel just like more natural, less charged way of learning to interact because that starts to build this trust. And it's very easy, like you might hear nothing for the first while. You'll keep asking and hearing nothing, and you're like, this is stupid, this isn't working. But I promise you, you will start to hear a response back eventually. And when you start responding to that yes and no, it's something much easier than when you're in like a sexual situation that's more heated and fast paced, right? So basically, learning to talk to your pussy. And the other thing is when you are in yes, create ritual, create ceremony, create like set the mood, like set the lighting, set the stage, you know, light candles, like create that for yourself because life is about creating sensuality and ritual. And I mean, I'm in North America and we're really bad at ritual, but I've lived in many different countries. Like when I lived in the Middle East, I was in South America for a while, but also like Nepal and India. Those cultures, there's ritual everywhere you go. Like there's ritual in everything. And creating that, creating things that are aesthetically pleasing around you. Put effort into it, you know? And it doesn't have to be super big and complicated. It can be simple. You know, I have this red light that I turn on, and that associates my body to dropping in, and I know I'm gonna make a ritual out of it, right? So, really just finding that sensuality of life and doing it with yourself. Once you craft it with yourself, you'll be shocked at how easy it is with another person and how celebratory it will be. I mean, I have great sex with strangers because I bring it. I bring the great sex. Like, I bring lighting to sex dates. Like, you know, I create the ritual. I make the drop in. I bring the vulnerability. And it turns out great, like 9 out of 10 times, because I'm bringing that. So that is my, yeah, biggest tips, I would say.
I am like I I feel like I am ready to write and read a soliloquy to my pussy.
Yes. That's a thing too. I get students to write a letter to their pussy and then read it 1 year later
Oh my
after
God.
doing all this work.
Wow. Wow. Loving it. There's even an app that is called Letters to Your Future Self or something. Let me
Mm.
see. I think I'm gonna re-download it and I'm gonna send my pussy a love letter. Well, letter of
Yes.
apology and a
Yeah.
love letter. Oh,
Yeah, and in the love letter can be, you know, the apology as well. So,
yes, it's an act of love. This is
absolutely.
this is so juicy and so precious and oh, so so true. So
Mm.
it feels so good, and I'm really, really, really thankful, Nadia Lune.
Thank you, Candia. It's
Mm,
been such
we
a
love
pleasure to be here, and
you.
I just love your mind and how you dissect it. It's really poetry, actually. You dissect these concepts in such deep poetry that I think are really digestible. So your voice is so beautiful to be in this space. Thank you.
Thank you. And tell us, how can we join your mystical sex school, know more about what you're doing, connect with your social
Yes.
media, make this the beginning of a lifelong connection with with your magic and wisdom.
Yes. Yeah. So my website is Nadia Lune, NadiaLune.com. And you'll see my sex magic school on there. There's a whole info in there. It's a monthly membership that I have lectures, guided practices. We do 2 live calls a month for the full and new moon rituals. And so I teach live twice a month as well. There's a whole community there. And then you can always book me for a one-on-one consult as well. I have that on my website. If you just need like one-on-one, go deep, pick my brain, whatever you need, no shame there. Any topic is welcome, any gender as well. And then I also have retreats that are in person every couple of years, so check that out. But sign up for my newsletter. That's really where you get all the updates, the invites to my, sometimes I have free events and things like that. And then on TikTok and Instagram, it's Nadia Lune. ITSNADIALUNE. And my TikTok is much more like informational videos. My Instagram has a bit of that, but my Instagram stories, I share a lot about my life, my slutty adventures, I'm writing a book about my sex life. So I put a lot of that info there as well. So it's good to follow the variety.
Very variety. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here.
Muchas gracias.
Un gusto enorme, inmenso. Gracias, Nadia Lune. Yes, and also thank you, sensualists, for being in this one of a kind magical episode. And do go follow Nadia Lune on Instagram and TikTok and go visit her website, nadialune.com, and get enrolled in her membership and learn with her live and also one on one, and sign up for her newsletter. Also, if you haven't already, go grab the free guide to awaken sensuality on my website, www.mynamecandiaraquel.com, which is CANDIARAQUEL.com. Until next time, remember to slow down, to take the time to sense your fire so you can share the flame.